morning, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Thank y'all so much for tapping back in to see what I have to say. I promise y'all, it truly does mean the world to me. But with that being said, we're talking about Quant Network, okay? We're talking about Quant Network. We're talking about the digital euro, the digital pound. We're talking about America and its digital processes that it's going through, whether that's going to be a digital dollar or a stable coin. There's so much happening, you guys. We are truly going into the digital age. I want you guys to truly focus and pay attention, because I know right now, over this past few weeks, with all this tariff talk, the markets have went so red and so upside down. So many people are scared. So many people are thinking that the bullworm may be over and all of these things. But understand this. This is so much bigger than a Bitcoin 4-year cycle. Okay, understand that the powers that be, things like central banks, are literally setting up processes so that they can be in place by things like 2027 and 2028, so that they can start deploying their digital use cases globally, you guys. Truly tap in and truly understand that this is so much bigger than a market that is built off of hype and speculation, because we are truly getting ready to enter into the digital utilization of DLT, distributed ledger technologies, built on top of distributed ledger networks. And Quant is the connector of that globally, okay? Follow me on this. This first video comes from our boy Maximus Crypto, and we are diving into an update about the digital pound. I'll be right back.
Digital Pound Foundation is an independent organization that was incorporated on June 22nd of 2021 to work with a variety of stakeholders and participants towards the implementation of a well-designed digital pound and an effective and diverse ecosystem for new forms of digital money. Now, of course, there's this whole thing about their goal, and you can look more into that. Let's get into the juicy stuff.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. It's just a few taps. You can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
As you go further down, you will see right here the originating members of the group include some of these people here, Jeremy Wilson, right, and so on. But look what it says here. Foundation and associate members include Accenture, Avalanche, Billing Group, Clifford Chance, CGI, Electronium, Quant, and even Ripple.
I decided to go deeper into this. New update from the Bank of England. Page was updated today, April 10th, 2025. Why point this out? Well, when you go up to the top area, it talks about the next steps. It says, we haven't made a decision on whether we will introduce a digital pound. The earliest we would issue a digital pound would be the second half of this decade. We are now in the design phase, which will look at the technology and policy requirements for a digital pound. In the design phase, we will test how it could work in the real world. This will bring to life innovative ways to use it so you can see how it might be useful and relevant to you. We will carry out detailed assessments to work out exactly how a digital pound would operate. At the end of this phase, we will have enough information to make a decision on whether to move into a build phase. Parliament will also have a say before any digital pound is basically launched, and further public consultation will be held to make sure everybody has the opportunity to make your views heard.
New technologies are allowing for the emergence of new forms of digital money and new ways and devices to pay for goods and services with it. International developments have the potential to affect the UK domestically and our position as a global leader in finance. Ensuring that public trust in money remains high and that forms of money and payments meet the evolving needs of individuals and businesses are fundamental responsibilities of the government, on which Parliament must have its say. We're determined that the UK should remain at the forefront of innovation in money, payments and financial services. This is part of the government's vision for a technologically advanced, sustainable and open financial services sector. A UK digital pound would be a new form of digital money for use by households and businesses for their everyday payments needs. The digital pound would be a new form of sterling, similar to a digital banknote and issued by the Bank of England.
Trusted by central banks and global financial institutions, we've worked on the digital pound. Says it right there. The UK RLN and the digital euro in its day, and here it is even blown up that much more further. So we know that Quant has basically worked on the digital pound. Maybe they didn't fully build it, but they sure as the heck worked on it. Plain as day it says that. But they did spill the beans when it comes to the digital euro. And I've been covering this for quite a while, even back since February. Shout out to Channing Harrell.
Now you guys just saw that video, and you also saw in their video where they said that it will be towards the end of the decade. Now understand this, the beginning of the decade is 2020 to 2025. The end of the decade is 2025 till 2029. So we are literally right at the doorstep of these processes being determined. Y'all, this stuff has already been determined. Trust me, the powers that be, like the Bank of International Settlements, which we're gonna go over in this video, these tokenizing and the digitization of this commercial bank and this central bank money, y'all, is happening. And understand, holding things like QNT, holding things like XRP, holding things like XLM, XDC, other utilizing distributed ledger technologies that are ISO compliant and that are working alongside of the most powerful entities in the world, you will not be sorry. Yes, today is the market down. Absolutely. Is it completely down from November? Absolutely. But understand this. This is temporary price action. Truly see the vision of what they're literally putting out in front of us. Okay, you guys? Follow me on this because I'm always going somewhere. This next part of this video, we just talked about the digital pound. Now we're going to tackle the digital euro, you guys. There's been updates about this as well. Follow me on this because I'm always going somewhere, and I'll be right back.
On your second point, I tend to share your views. Nature doesn't like vacuum. And we started working on the digital euro way back. Actually, when I started my term 5.5 years ago. And I'm not claiming, parentality on the digital euro because my colleague Benoît Cœuré had already committed a speech on this matter before I arrived. But I certainly carried on with that project, and subsequently Fabio Panetta on the board and then Piero Cipollone, who has replaced Fabio, have taken the lead together with a very, very good team which is focused on accelerating the pace and hopefully campaigning enough with all the stakeholders, meaning European Parliament, meaning European Council, meaning European Commission, so that we can eventually, not put to bed, but put to reality this digital euro. The deadline for us is going to be October of 25, and we are getting ready for that deadline, but we will not be able to move unless the other parties, the stakeholders, as I call them, Commission, Council, and Parliament, actually complete the legislative process, without which we will not be able to move. And I think it is critically important, and it seems to the agnostic or the skeptics, it seems to be more relevant and more of an imperative now than ever before, both on the wholesale and on the retail level, both.
That video was from my boy Maximus Crypto. Bro, you rock. So listen, y'all, understand, you see things like Christine Laguard, the president of the ECB, literally the person who is over the euro, talking about the deployment of the digital euro by October 2025. Y'all, that's just a few months away, okay? Now, excuse me, understand that all of these things are happening because it's a chain reaction that's happening globally, headed by things like the Bank of International Settlements, which is the central bank of central banks. If you do not know who they are, I want you to go to Google, type in the Bank of International Settlements, go to the Wikipedia link. On that link, I want you to scroll down to where you see members. Click that link so you can see all of the central banks that fall up under the jurisdiction of the Bank of International Settlements. That is so that all of these entities around the world can do seamless integration, payments, and business with each other, you guys. Understand truly what is being laid out in front of us. And all of these major players talking about things like tokenization, talking about things like the CBDCs or stable coins, which is the same thing if you really want to know. Only difference is one is issued by a sovereign nation central bank and the other one is issued by a private company. But it is all money on a distributed ledger that has the capabilities of being programmable. Don't be fooled by the hype in America saying no CBDC. You guys, America, the power of America will not let itself be the only nation in the world that does not have a sovereign central bank digital currency. Trust me on that, because how many times has our great commander-in-chief, Mr. Trump, said one thing and did another? That's all I'm gonna say on that. As I digress, we're hopping into a video coming from the Bank of International Settlements. And a little bit of Larry Fink is thrown in there, also talking about the tokenization of these things. Bonds, stocks, securities, central bank money. Y'all understand what's truly being laid out, and don't be shooken out by these red days in the market, because you have these players, these ISO compliant players in the background building infrastructure that money, securities, and any other thing of value will be processed and flowed on for decades. Understand what utility in motion truly is, and understand how valuable some of these assets will be that are tied to the utility in motion. Okay, you guys, here we go. This video from the Bank of International Settlements coming from my boy Maximus Crypto yet again, and I'll be right back.
What I'm going to say is going to fit perfectly after what Christine has given us, and in a way, it tries to address what Augustin asked at the end of the session, which is, can we think about the functionalities that come from crypto, but in the regulated financial system? So. Just a little bit of historical background is useful. If we think about the evolution of money, it's always been spurred by developments in real economic activity itself. So if we start off with commodity money on the left-hand side here on the slide, I guess we can say that the big advance in the institution of money was the advent of money in the form of entries maintained, entries in account ledgers maintained by trusted intermediaries. The central banks are really the best example of an intermediary. And commercial banks are customers of central banks, and central bank just debits one account and credits another account. So this institution has been around for several hundreds of years. But I guess, in the old days, they were actually literally paper ledgers. You had to write, you had to cross out and then write, new entries. Of course, in the 20th century, all of that became digital. But the underlying rationale was exactly the same. So rather than writing with pen and paper, it's just zeros and ones. I guess what Christine has also shown us is that there is an additional element, and this is the element of tokenization. So tokenization has many different aspects, but the best way that I think that I could understand this is to say it's not only a digital record, so it's not only an account ledger entry, it also combines the rules and logic that governs the transfers. In other words, you can program the digital entry in such a way that you can have the contingent performance of actions. In other words, you can have these if-then statements. So if various conditions hold, then certain activities take place. So the most talked about application of this is in the case of securities markets, which has to do with payment versus delivery.
As a huge believer of crypto and blockchain and tokenization, I want the SEC to rapidly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks. That will simplify things, make things easier. Some of the tax on Blackrock would never have to vote on a proxy vote anymore because every owner of record would be notified through a tokenization of equities. And it would save more money for more people. It would bring down the cost of ownership of stock and bonds. So those are the type of financial reforms we need. Right.
So I would like to sell a security and receive money in return. The buyer would like to buy the security but pay in return. There could be settlement risk, which is, given the sums involved, that could be very, very important. And we would like to mitigate that settlement risk. And one way of doing that is to write a program that says the money goes out if and only if the security comes in. And that's that's the canonical example of how you can use the contingent performance of actions in mitigating risk. Now, of course, tokenization is not the only way of achieving payment versus delivery. We have built up whole institutions to deal with that. And I guess what that shows us is that if an issue is important enough, we will always build institutions that actually take care of that. And I think the issue with tokenization, I think, goes well beyond payment versus delivery. So although that's the canonical example, I think it goes to the heart of this issue. Well, what else can we do with this? And crypto, in a way, has shown us the way. But one thing that Christine didn't mention in her presentation was central banks. And central banks, after all, issue the unit of account, and it's really the focal point of the monetary system. It really is the foundation of the monetary system itself, and it ensures the singleness of money by settling transactions, across different customers of different banks. And one idea that we laid out in our annual economic report 2 years ago was the idea of a unified ledger, where we not only have central bank money together with commercial bank money, but also with other claims on the same programmable platform. Now, that could be decentralized using DLT, or it could be a bit more centralized as long as we have the governance that backs it up. The technology really is secondary to the idea that you have all of these instruments on the same platform. And the key here is by providing central bank money in tokenized form in the same venue as these other claims, you can actually give full flow to the functionalities of the flow.
QuantFlow lets businesses connect, orchestrate, and program money like never before.
Now, y'all just saw, okay? Follow me on this. And I know everybody always says, well, America, what about America? What about America? Understand this. America sits in the province of the Americas. Okay, that includes Canada, that includes the United States of America, that includes Mexico, that includes Central and South America, the complete and utter North American continent. And does the Bank of International Settlements has a take about what the Americas is doing? Absolutely, you guys. Follow me on this. Do not be shaken out of these ISO compliant tokens in early 2025 because the market is red because tariffs are being talked about. Y'all focus. Don't do this process like a retail investor, but truly tap in and put your institutional hat on so that you see and you can move alongside of what the institutions are doing, because the vision of what they have for these unified ledgers, and it does not mean one ledger will take it all over. No, that is multiple ledgers or multiple DLNs connecting into technology so that they can do seamless cross-border payments, seamless cross-border transactions, delivery versus payment, all of these things that we've been talking about in my videos. These processes are becoming realities. And I'm not talking about 5, 10, 15 years away. Starting this year, the digital euro and its processes go live. You have the digital euro, then you have the digital pound, then you have the digital Australian dollar, and then you have we already have the digital Chinese, I believe it's the yen. It's already a thing. And know that for about, I want to say it's been like 2 years now, that every single civil servant in China has no choice but to receive their paycheck in their digital currency. Understand what forced mass adoption truly looks like. And here in America, it may not be a forced mass adoption, but this is why y'all ain't seen me, because I've been working my tail off, because y'all life is lifing. Bills is billing, and the money is getting shorter and shorter. So, and it's not just me feeling this. I know this is being felt globally. Trust me, there will be some type of stimulus given, but there will be some type of payments given to stimulate the economy. And if it happens this year, next year, or the following year, trust me, eventually these payments coming from the government will be digital. You have to download your digital wallet, get your digital ID, and receive your digital stimulus via your government or your central banks. Follow me. This day is coming, you guys. And understanding where we are right now, understanding and seeing what Quant Network is facilitating globally, you won't be sorry. But here we go, talking the Bank of International Settlements, talking about the Americas and the digital processes. Coming from my boy Maximus Crypto. Here we go, that next video.
Because on April 10th, today, new report by the Bank for International Settlements America's Office, consultative group on the digital economy, discusses ongoing tokenization projects and their potential to improve the financial system. So what do we have in that regard? Well, it's a very long piece, to say the least, but it talks about leveraging tokenization for payments and financial transactions. This report by the Consultative Group on Innovation in the Digital Economy, which is CGIDE, was established at the BIS Representative Office for the Americas, and as you see, April 10th. Well, it says, from the private sector, the Regulated Liability Network, as we know, the RLN, is a collaborative initiative among the U.S. and international financial institutions to explore how shared ledger technology may be applied to all regulated monies on a common platform. All right, a lot of you guys were thinking, for whatever reason, I have no idea, that this was something that was only for like Europe and Asia and other sectors. No, that's furthermore from the truth. Some of you guys are stating that Quant has no connection to the U.S. That's simply not true either. For one, we already know Gilbert Verdian. If you go to gilbertverdian.com/CV, he still sits as a chair with the Federal Reserve. Yes, U.S. Federal Reserve. On top of that, we see things like this. So let's face it, there is the plug to the U.S. The other thing I want to point out is where it says here, I guess you could say on the Cliff Notes, the concept of unified ledgers does not mean one ledger to rule them all. A single ledger that encompasses all financial assets and transactions in an economy. Depending on the needs of each jurisdiction, multiple interconnected ledgers, think about that term, could coexist. A potential way to connect a separated ledger could be through an application programming interfaces, for example, APIs. Who do you think is going to do that? Really? Okay, and I'll provide you some more evidence. So as we take you further into this, I want to jump into this. Is Ripple XRP part of the mix? Well, according to this updated PDF that came out literally today, it says here, as part of this agenda, BANREP, in collaboration with the Ministry of Information Technology and Communications, which is called Mintic, Ripple, and PeerSys, is conducting an experiment to issue, yes, you read that right, a wholesale CBDC and tokenized securities based on DLT. And it mentions that tokenized securities, of course, are going to be based on DLT, involves building a scalable blockchain prototype. Think about that, in a test environment with simulated participants. Think about that. Wasn't Quant with the Overledger a participant with the RLN, Regulated Liability Network, and the RSN, the Regulated Settlement Network? They absolutely were. The experiment evaluates efficiencies in delivery versus payment, which we covered that, for primary issuance and in the clearing and settlement of transactions in the secondary market, as well as direct CBDC transfers between the wallets of financial entities, of course, on the blockchain. Now this gets really, really interesting, because when you go further down here, well, it says when a financial institution creates a wallet on the blockchain, Ripple's technology establishes a trust line with the central bank's creation wallet. This process, verified by network consensus, reported to all nodes, enabling CBDC transfers to the new wallet. The tokenized version of Colombian government securities must include specific attributes such as bond name, ISIN code, which we covered that before in regard to Quant, and I believe also Swift. And then that was a long time ago. But anyway, interest rate, coupon frequency, you get the gist here. But it's got to be on a verifiable blockchain through its unique decentralized storage link. That's interesting. Now, we had a lot of talk about wallets.
Now, you just saw the take directly from the Bank of International Settlements, the central bank of central banks, okay? Now, you also saw in that they kept talking about wallets, the institutions and their wallets. Understand what Overledger is, and then tap into truly what a process that Overledger has called the Overwallet. This is the thing that the central banks and financial institutions can tap in to build out their digital infrastructure, build out their digital wallets, and then they'll use something like a Ripple XRP to do that cross-border payment and remittance. But they'll be facilitating their digital wallets with things like a Quant network. Why? Because it is interoperable. It is tied to global standards. It is tied to internet protocols, and it has been tested and tried by things like the RLN, by things like Project Rosalind, things like Project Agora. Understand what's truly being laid out in front of us. Here we go. I'm jumping into this video talking about the Overwallet, also coming from my boy Maximus Crypto, and I'll be right back.
Well, we go over to Quant's docs.overledger.dev/docs/wallet. Well, I pointed this out before, but there's a lot of people who might have missed this. It says, what is Overwallet? Think about this for a second. For real. Listen with me. Overwallet serves as the back end for Authorize, also known as TSR, acting as an intermediary between Authorize and both AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, KMS, and of course Fireblock's direct custodial wallet. So remember what you just heard with this outline about the European Union, or I should say the European Central Bank, and this whole thing about custody? Yeah, does this not flow well? So no pun intended about the flow, by the way, but it mentions here Fireblocks, while ensuring that private keys remain always securely within the custody with no possibility of extraction. Overwallet provides unified APIs for wallet services, regardless of the underlying blockchain network or custody provider. All right, check mark. This is how this works. Essentially, Overwallet aims to achieve blockchain interoperability specific for transaction signing by allowing authorized to sign any transactions native data through a single API. This API interacts with either Amazon Web Services, KMS, or Fireblocks, enabling authorized to manage multiple keys across various DLT assets on Quant Connect efficiently. All right, here's another thing I want to point out. So you have this thing of the hierarchical deterministic wallet, AWS. Like it says, does not natively support HD wallets, but Overwallet, see how the supply and demand of the Overwallet through Quant comes in? Overwallet is designed to make AWS KMS function as it does. Effectively use Overwallet. It's essential to understand the principles of this. Generating a key using Fireblocks. This is massive. If you know about Fireblocks, they are so unbelievably well connected. We're talking trillions flow through Fireblocks, right? Further down into this, what do we have in regards to this Overwallet? Well, look what it says. It mentions these values. It mentions specifically like compatibility with MetaMask and some of these other things. But you see the support for Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, XDC, BTC, Polkadot, Ripple XRP, Solana, Algo. So it's all there. But it's the mapping, because we did mention Fireblocks. Well, without nerding out too much, it says Overwallet utilizes the asset ID, HD account ID, along with Quant's location. Literally mentions Quant's location, which consists of technology and network. And to do what, everybody? To generate a key and sign transactions with Fireblocks. Does it mention the likes of XRP? Yes. XRP Ledger. Check mark. So I think this is very, very important to point some of this out. And here's the icing on the cake, which is BISC working paper. Remember how we talked about bridges? Trust bridges and money flows. Think about that. This dates back to July 2023. Mentions specifically rise as a private settlement asset and marketplace. Back to that term about marketplace, such as what? Ripple's XRP. And does it mention our beloved Stellar? It does. It says an open source marketplace such as Stellar Foundations, or more recently DeFi networks, and a marketplace and settlement asset based on unbacked crypto assets. So settlement assets would be anything tied to the RSN.
And y'all just saw that video about the Overwallet. You just saw all of the players that's already tapped into that network. Things and players that like a Solana and a Ethereum and an XRP and Avalanche and so forth and so on, you guys. These digital processes are being built out, you guys. Do not let these red days, do not let this downturn in the market shake you out of the most incredible opportunity any of us have had ever since the beginning of time. There has never been a point in time where the retail investor has front run any institution, let alone all of the institutions. Understand that there will be trillions and quadrillions of dollars flowing over distributed ledger technologies on top of distributed ledger networks, literally, you guys, within the next few years. Be patient. Don't be, so amped and so ready. Oh, it's going down. I'm going to sell everything because I'm nervous and I'm scared. Don't be. They're trying to shake you out of this bag because they know exactly where we're going. They understand and see the vision. And if you're tapping into this channel and you truly are following what I'm saying, you understand and see the vision as well. And I don't want you guys to miss this colossal opportunity. Do not miss this boat, because this boat, once it takes off, is going to be incredible. Follow me on this, you guys. I promise you, I'm always going somewhere. I'm right here with y'all. I'm a retail just like y'all. When the market is down, my wallet is down. When the market is up, I'm happy too because my wallet is up as well. Follow me on this, y'all. Please tap in. Please horn in on this opportunity. And if you made it all the way through this whole rant, type in Overwallet, because Quant Network's Overwallet will connect the institutions to the institutions utilizing something like a Ripple XRP and the regulated settlement network. Okay, you guys, follow me on this because their plan is being executed. So until the next time, y'all already know I appreciate y'all. Peace out.